Good morning, everyone. All right. Let me thank everyone for coming out today. It is a wonderful day for our city, right, guys? Okay. And we're all here because we're going to celebrate the Polk Streetscape project. And for many of you, the project, just a little bit about the project itself. It is 1.8 miles long, and it's started from Beach Street all the way to McAllister, and some people say from the Bay to Civic Center. So it is a long stretch, and we're very excited that this project is complete. And as many of you know, this particular Polk Street, before this project happened, this corridor was one of the high injury network corridors here in our city. And you know, through the work of many of the coalitions and many people, we have been able to improve this streetscape. And today, that past is behind us. How about a clap for that? The streetscape is a makeover that offers several pedestrian crossings, safer bike lanes, and more importantly, it helps the businesses along the corridor be more vibrant, and we're excited about that. The project has improved lighting and has improved landscaping, has many new curb ramps, pedestrian bulb outs, a lot of work to the infrastructure, new paving, and of course underground and sewer lines that also got many of the upgrades here. So this is a complete streetscape for Polk Street. And the project has happened with a lot of strong partnerships with many community groups that help transform the street itself. But as we can see, even some of the alleys got transformed. And so Fern Alley that we're standing in here today has got this beautiful new look with enhanced safety elements and raised crosswalks and nice pedestrian scale lighting. And so that's the goal for many of the streets, not just Polk Street, but all the streets that are intersecting. They all make up the fabric of the streetscape. And we all know it also takes a whole community. It takes a lot of political leadership to make progress here and on many of our projects. And leading that charge to make San Francisco a much safer and more vibrant and welcoming city is our Mayor, London Breed. Let us welcome her with a big hand of applause for her leadership. London.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. The rain couldn't stop us from celebrating 8 years of construction to get this project done for the residents, for the businesses, for the people of this community. And I want to thank each and every one of you because I know it has been painful. I know it has been challenging. But because of your support, we have been able to get it done. And what we have, as you can see, even in Fern Alley, this beautiful streetscape, this community will be more vibrant, it will be more resilient because of this work. And also, it'll be safer. For the kids that are joining us here today from Reading Elementary School, we gotta make sure that they can walk the communities and feel safe. We have to make sure that as people use different modes of transportation, like bicycles and scooters, that there are dedicated bike lanes so that people are safe. We have to make sure that we change our streetscapes in general and we repair our infrastructure. This project started, I think, when Supervisor Peskin was supervisor the first time. And now we get to finish when he's supervisor the second time around. And it is really absolutely amazing. And San Francisco, as we know, many, many years ago, the infrastructure was developed to support mostly cars getting around. Now we have so many more people living in San Francisco. Our population has grown. More people who are riding and, as I said, using alternative modes of transportation. So as that changes, our city has to change. We have to adjust with the ultimate goal of not only moving people around, but moving them around safely. That's what these improvement projects are about. And on top of that, the ability to repair our infrastructure, the pipes and all the things underground that make our cities and our businesses work. That is so important. It's so critical to the sustainability of our city for generations to come. So I am so excited about the completion of this project, and I'm so excited about what it is going to do to improve public safety for each and every one of us. We know that there are a number of investments the city is making all over in all the neighborhoods all over the city. We have a lot of work to do, and I want to thank San Franciscans for their support of these projects, for their patience as we move these projects through, because we will be a better city once we complete and make San Francisco safer for all of us and improve it, especially for the next generation of residents right here to my right who walked to this area. And we're so glad to have you, and we're looking forward to more projects like this for future generations. Thank you all so much for being here today. And with that, I'd like to invite Supervisor of District 3, who complains about everything that doesn't get done in a timely manner in his district. He is here today to be happy and excited about this amazing project. Ladies and gentlemen, Supervisor Aaron Peskin.
Thank you, Mayor Breed. I take absolutely no credit for this because all of it happened actually when I was out of office. All of the controversy happened under my predecessor, David Chu's watch. But I really want to shout out the community first and foremost. The lower Polk area of District 3 was historically neglected by City Hall, and it didn't really have a voice until John and Shirley Malone came along and started what became a real community force, the lower Polk neighbors. So I really want to shout out the lower Polk neighbors. This 1.8 miles actually spans 3 supervisorial districts. District 6, represented by Supervisor Matt Haney. In the north, District 2, represented by Supervisor Catherine Stephanie, and in between in District 3. And along that corridor, there were many voices. The Middle Polk neighbors, the Russian Hill neighbors, the Polk District merchants, all of whom collaborated to make this such an excellent project. But I would be neglectful if I did not shout out one name, and that is the name written here on this sidewalk that these wonderful students from Reading Elementary are looking at, and that is an incredible force named Shell Thomas. And Shell had a vision for Polk Street that we are realizing today. He passed away untimely in 2014, and this sidewalk is in memory of Shell, so I just wanted to shout Shell out and say that this really would not have happened without his vision and his tenacity in having a vibrant Polk Street. Thank you, Shell Thomas. And I know that Mayor Breed said it was an 8-year project. It might have felt like 8 years, but it was actually 3. And I want to shout out Public Works and the SFMTA who actually implemented this in the smoothest way possible. I know there were concerns, and Komite made representations to the businesses and the residents, and I think all of those representations came true. Mitchell Berg, I think he did exactly what he said he was going to do in those first controversial community meetings that we had 3 years ago. So thank you to Public Works. Thank you to the staff of the SFMTA and to Komite, who had to listen to everybody screaming at him about parking spaces being taken away and all the rest of it. This is a transformative streetscape project that I think is going to be something that we are proud of for generations to come. And with that, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce the supervisor from District 6, Supervisor Matt Haney.
All right, well, see if I can get this up here. Sorry, Aaron. So is everybody excited about Polk Street? Okay, good. This is a very impressive turnout for this opening, especially in the rain. I want to thank the community. As Supervisor Peskin said, this was a multi-year effort that was really led by the neighbors, that was pushed for by the neighbors, with tremendous partners in the city. Polk Street is really one of the premier commercial and residential corridors in our city. And finally, we are going to have a streetscape that matches the dynamic nature of this corridor, the people who live here, the many different uses that we know take place on this street. I want to give a huge shout out to the kids from Reading Elementary. Thank you for hosting us and having us here in your hood. Really, they are what this is all about. Children, cyclists, seniors, being able to walk down and use this street in a safe way, in a way that really activates it. I tell everybody about Fern Alley now. When people say we have challenges with our alleys, say, look what we're doing here at Fern Alley. This is the model for what we can do all over our city. And I hope that we have also learned from what we did in Polk Street so that we can do this quicker, that we can do stronger protections for cyclists on our streets. We know that when we don't do this, sadly, it can be deadly. Over the last few weeks, we've seen people on our streets on high injury corridors, pedestrians and cyclists who have lost their lives. And this is a solution to that if we do it right. And we need to do it quicker, and we need to do it with stronger protections. But we've learned from this process, and we know we can build on it and continue this great work. Last thing I want to say, thank you to the business community who has stuck with us through this process. And I look down Polk Street and I see far too many vacant storefronts. And it's a challenge that I hope that we're able to help fix now that this project is completed, and we can really support both the residents here and the business community. So thank you to SFMTA, to Department of Public Works, to Mayor Bree, to Supervisor Peskin, and most importantly, to all of you. This is a fantastic day despite the weather, and more to come. Thank you.
And yes, Supervisor, there are many lessons that have been learned on a project like this. And when Public Works implements these projects, we don't do it alone. We do it with a lot of other agencies. And it's my pleasure to introduce the Director of the MTA, Ed Riskin.
Thank you, Mohammed, Madam Mayor, Supervisors. It's great to see you all. It's great to be here after so many years. You know, we started the conversation with all the community groups and stakeholders that the other folks have been talking about. It was many years ago, but we started that conversation because what we identified, and this was before we had even defined the high injury network as we know it today, we started the conversation because we saw too many people being hurt as they were traveling on Polk Street, particularly people traveling by bike and people who are walking. And we decided back then, before we had adopted Vision Zero as a city, that this was unacceptable and that this was preventable. So we sat down and we worked with the many community groups involved. We worked with the merchants, we worked with the residents, we worked with the neighborhood associations. You heard many of them named before. And it was through that collaboration and really understanding what the needs of the businesses were, the needs of the residents, understanding the perspective of transit riders, understanding the perspective of people who use this to bike to work or bike to school, and particularly of those who are walking and just trying to get across the street, trying to get to where they're going. We took all of that and put together a project that was complicated. There was not easy solutions. There are different neighborhoods, as the supervisor said, that this goes through with different crash profiles, different geometries, and we had to knit it together into a project that would best meet the needs of all the different stakeholders while making the street safer, and I think that's something we accomplished. There were definitely trade-offs along the way, but we were able to, and there was a lot of controversy along the way, but we were able to get to a consensus project that is resulting in a Polk Street that I think is a quantum step better than what we had before we started this project. A quantum step better in terms of safety, and a quantum step better in terms of vitality and livability, and really supporting and advancing what's great and special and unique about the Polk Street corridor and the multiple neighborhoods that it runs through. So we're just very pleased to be here at this day. As others said, lots of lessons learned. We need to do more of this. We need to do it better and need to do it faster. But we have a great product here, and it's because of the great collaboration among so many different stakeholders throughout this process. And also I want to acknowledge, in addition to the mayor and the supervisors, the great leadership by the SFMTA Board of Directors that had the tough job way back of approving this project amid all the controversy. I see at least one, Director Cheryl Brinkman, who was on the board at that time here. The difficult work of approving the project, getting the funding together so that we could move this forward. So I want to thank all of our partners, all the community stakeholders, and congratulate all of the neighbors along Polk Street for this great project. And one of those stakeholders that's been with us from the start, sometimes working with us, sometimes fighting with us, but always advocating for safer and better streets in San Francisco has been the San Francisco Bicycle Coalition. So I want to invite the Executive Director of San Francisco Bicycle Coalition, Brian Wedemeyer, up to say a few words.
Thank you, Director Reskin. Thank you, Director Nuru and your team from Public Works for putting on this event. Special thanks to Mayor Breed for your remarks and Supervisors Peskin and Haney for being here. We are here today to celebrate the completion of the Polk Streetscape Improvement Project. And there are some wonderful things to celebrate. Fern Alley in front of us is a great example of what the city can do to make our streets and alleyways more human scale. We have great new pavement. There are sewer lines, so many wonderful things that are a result of this project. I do want to call out that from a bicycle safety perspective, I'm not sure we're 100% complete in what we need on Polk Street. With only part of the project containing fully protected bike lanes, this project, which whether it was 3 years or 8 years ago, when it was approved, it doesn't quite meet the standards that we have established today for protection and safety for people who bike on our Vision Zero high injury corridors, those streets where we know people are getting injured and killed. We are at this point because Polk Street, where the project we're celebrating today, is the result of a process that started years ago. And what we have learned since then is that all of the outreach and planning and construction delays, they're not necessary to wait whether it's 3 years or 8 years to get the safety improvements that we need for people who bike. We have seen with the leadership of Mayor Breed and members of the Board of Supervisors that we can get those safety improvements in the ground in a matter of months rather than years. So the lesson and the takeaway for me here is that there are these important projects where we are transforming our streetscapes, and they're important to get right. And we need to be speaking up for the voices of young people, for seniors, for people who bike. But there are also things that we can do immediately to make improvements. And I am so happy, again, in response to the recent fatality that Supervisor Haney mentioned on Howard Street, that the city is stepping up and putting those safety improvements in the ground to help save lives and prevent more people from being injured. So we look forward to working with the mayor's office, with the SFMTA, to evaluating Polk Street, to seeing how it works, what needs to be fixed and tweaked, especially from a bicycle perspective, in the months ahead, and hopefully making improvements to close those gaps in safety and protection where we know they exist. The memories of the lives we have lost and of the lives changed by people who were seriously injured demand that we continue to make fast and real change. Thank you so much.
Okay, representing SF Walk is Jody Medrios. Coming up.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mayor Breed, Supervisors, Director Nehru, and Director Reskin. I stand here today thinking a lot about a phone call I received recently, a couple of weeks ago, from a woman who was seriously hurt and hit on a hit and run just a couple of blocks away from here. And she thankfully survived the crash, and that was one of the hardest calls I've ever received, but those calls never do get easy. And it is projects like Polk Street, where we do the necessary work and put in the time and energy and investment in streets like this, where we know that they are streets that need our attention, because people are going about their daily lives and still encountering unsafe conditions. I am so happy that one of our city's most dangerous streets has gotten the safety improvements, the crosswalks, the bulb outs, the visibility striping, because we know that this is the work that it takes to save lives. This project was designed at a time before we had the city's goal of Vision Zero, and before we had leaders like Mayor Breed who made it clear that people's safety is the #1 priority above everything else. That means we have a lot more work to do here on Polk Street. And we have to be more aggressive, as Brian said, about the quick changes. So yes, we all do stand here today in celebration because this alley is beautiful. We have amazing repavement and so many good things that we know are improving this corridor. But as a city, I think that we're ready to take more than small steps towards people's safety. We really need to be racing towards the future where everyone of every age and every ability is safe on our streets. Thank you so much. And next, please let me welcome Christian Martin, who's the Executive Director of the Lower Polk CBD, whose organization was definitely a key partner in the development of Polk Street. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here on this rainy day. We're thrilled to see everybody out here. Thank you, Mayor Breed, Supervisor Haney, Supervisor Peskin. I hope Directors Nuru, Reskin, I hope we all realize what we've been able to accomplish here. Thank you to the Lower Polk neighbors for your vision and your clarity and explaining to the city what we do want to see more of as opposed to what and who we don't want to see more of. It's critically important. Thank you to the DPW workers, the engineers, the architects that had a hand in creating this beautiful space. Your hard work, skill, and dedication speaks for itself. Many of you may know this, but it bears repeating that in the Tenderloin and Lower Polk neighborhood, there's the amount of open space is equivalent to 2 people sharing a yoga mat. Let that sink in. What we know about open space is it's critically important to the mind, body, and spirit, and that's simply not enough. So we're very proud to add Fern Alley to the available open space in the neighborhood, and we hope for the benefit of the future that we can continue to keep it clean and safe. I'd like to thank the staff of the CBD for doing the hard work day in and day out. Johnny, Andre, John, Ronald, we appreciate you, we see you. I'd like to thank the board of the CBD for giving me the support to do what I do every day. I love my job. Thank you, Al, V. Thanks to the sponsors, Sutter Health, CPMC, for your amazing investment in this neighborhood, its health and vitality. Thank you to TL HIP, St. Francis Foundation, Will, for all the work you do in the neighborhood parks. Our friends and colleagues at other CBDs, Simon, thank you so much. Randall, everybody else who I don't see. And I'd like to reiterate what Supervisor Peskin said about Shel Thomas, a man who I didn't have the pleasure to meet, but whose legacy and vision we're all standing in. So thank you, Shel. You know, we're incredibly proud to be the stewards of this amazing, magnificent public space. It's a responsibility that we take seriously, and we hope to infuse our future programming with equity and inclusion so that this alley can fulfill the promise and the pride of this special day. So thank you very much, and let's cut this ribbon.
Thank you, Christian. Christian has been an incredible partner, and there have been many, many neighborhood groups, many businesses, a lot of people who have been involved in this. I do want to thank the Planning Department. I want to thank the Public Utilities Commission. They have also been part of this project. I'd also like to thank M Squared, who was the contractor who really worked very closely with all the neighbors to make this project. And personally, a voice of appreciation to our project teams, especially David Forlick and Michelle Wu. Without them, this major undertaking, this project, they actually got it done in a very nice way. So a big hand for all of them. And now the moment we've been waiting for, if the children from Reading Elementary School will come over here, we shall cut the ribbon. And I want to just thank everyone for coming out. And please, enjoy this Polk Street, and any experiences you have, share them with us so we can do better on future streetscapes. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, can I get some girls over here to
Okay,
help
get
me
some
here?
girls over here.
Come on.
Go ahead, hold this.
Okay, so here's the thing. Watch your hands. Don't put them in there.
Okay.
And don't put them in here. So you guys gonna help me count down?
You guys ready?
Okay, where do we want to
5,
start at? 4,